Okay, hello. Some of you may have tried to log in earlier at 7 o'clock when the Hangout is supposed to start. I've been having some problems with my computer, and I'm actually using a loaner right now that I got from IT, and I don't have apparently my bookmarks and passwords and all sorts of things are lost, and I'm having some difficulty getting things to work. So I just now kind of got the Google Plus Hangout straightened out for this setup. And I'll go ahead and talk about what you guys need to do for this week. And hopefully you can watch the video. Okay, if you're in AOC1 or just plain AOC, you may have it called. You'll be learning about functions and methods this week. And you'll be learning about variable scoping, which has to do with where variables are visible within the program. For instance, if you have a loop and you've got a variable, say x, to run through the loop, that's local to just that loop structure, and it won't be visible to other parts of the program. It won't have any value outside the loop. Basically, any block that's enclosed by the squiggly brackets is going to the variables inside there are going to be local to that block of code. So you're going to be learning about that, how scoping works, where things are visible, that sort of thing. You'll also be learning about UI alert views. First, you'll be learning sort of the basics of it, and then you'll go into it in more detail in an activity called UI Alert View Revisited. Then you'll be learning about NS Number. NS Number is a way to turn the number types, int, double, float, that sort of thing, into objects so that you can store them in arrays and dictionaries. Now, arrays and dictionaries only hold objects. They can't hold primitive types like ints, floats, doubles, that sort of thing. So if you want to store them in an array or dictionary, you've got to wrap them in NS Number. So you'll learn how to do that. And let's see here. Okay, you're also going to learn about UI buttons. So here's one of the first user interface elements that actually allows the user to enter something. The user can click on a button and send information, and that initiates an action. Okay, then you're going to learn about selectors, and that enables you to tell the difference so that you know which button has been pressed. If there were more than one button on the page, you could determine which one was pressed by using a selector. For buttons, a lot of times we use the tab feature, and we can check and see which button was selected by looking at its tag. Okay, and then you have your second project. Okay, in this project you're going to be using what you've learned about NS numbers and about methods and about alerts. You're going to create 4 methods. One is going to be called add, and that's simply going to take 2 parameters, 2 NS integers or int types, and it should return the result of the addition between these two. So that should also return an int. And all you want to do here is just add those 2 parameters and return the result. You don't want to do anything else here. You don't want to try to print the result from inside this method. You don't want to call any other methods from inside this method, simply take the values of the parameters and add them and return the result. Another method is going to be called compare, and you're going to pass in as parameters 2 integers or int values and simply return yes or no, depending on whether or not they are equal. So you don't want to do anything else besides that. Just compare them and then return yes or no, depending on whether they're equal. The third method is called append, and you're going to pass in as parameters 2 strings, and you're going to take the second string and append it to the first string using the append string method. So append those 2 strings, append the first string to the second string, and return the result. Use the append string method to do the append. And you're going to return an NS string with the result in it, and don't do anything else inside there. Okay, and then the last method is called display alert with string. That method will take either 1 or 2 parameters, and you're going to pass in the message for the UI alert view, and if you want to, you can also pass in a second string for the alert's title, or you can just make the alert's title something generic and then only pass in the message string. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to call the other methods, and you're going to take their results and either store them or pass them directly to your display alert with string method. Okay, so you're going to be calling your methods from the viewDidLoad section of your viewController.m class. So the calls are going to be in the viewDidLoad. You're going to call the append method with 2 strings, capture the result in a variable, and display the result in the UI alert view with the appended string by calling display alert with string. So you're going to get back the appended string, save that in a variable, and that's going to be a string which you're going to then send as the parameter into display alert with string to actually have a display. Then you're going to call the add method, pass that 2 ints, capture the result, which is the return value of the method, into a variable. Okay, now you're going to do a little more with this one. You're going to take that returned int and you're going to bundle it into an NS number. So you're going to convert that into an NS number, and then you're going to convert that into an NS string. Now, there's really no real reason why you would need to do this, but we're just asking you to do it so you can see how to use NS number. Okay, then you're going to take that string and call display alert with string, passing it the NS string to display in the message. The message should read the number. This is the okay. You're not going to send just the sum string here directly. You're going to actually add some additional stuff to a string. So you're going to have a message that reads the number is, and then you're going to put in the sum that was returned by the add method. So it says, say if the sum was 7, it would say the number is 7. And then you want to pass that string to the display alert with string function. So now you're calling your methods like your add method and, well, all your methods in from viewDidLoad. So once you get your sum back, you're going to have to add it to a string that says the number is at the beginning, and then you're going to have to append on the sum that was returned. Okay. As I said, you can pass in some text as a second parameter for the title, or you can use a generic title for all the display alert with string methods calls. Then you're going to call the compare function with 2 int values, display a UI alert view, with both the input values and the result. Yes, if they're equal, no, if they're not equal, by calling the display alert with string function. So you're going to have to take the results and display. You're going to have to display both the input values, and then you're going to have to add to the string what the result was, yes or no. Okay. The rubrics are provided in the assignment towards the end. And if you have any questions, let me know. Okay. Now for AOC2, you're going to be learning about protocols and delegates. Protocols and delegates are, well, they can be used for passing data between different parts of the program, in particular different view controllers. They can also be used for a number of other things. The idea is that one part of the program may need to have another part of the program do work for it. We have architecture for Objective-C that's called the MVC architecture, stands for Model View Controller, and the idea is to sort of keep the model, the view, and the controller separate. So if you're doing something in a view, you may want to not do your calculations there. You really shouldn't be doing anything in the views other than showing your user interface elements and getting information from the user and showing information to the user. So you shouldn't really be doing any calculation or anything there. So if you need information that involves calculation, you may want to ask another part of the program to do that for you. We're actually having our view controllers at this point do most of the work for our views. So that would be acting as the controller. Okay, so the idea is you want one part of the program may, for modularity's sake, want to ask another part of the program to do certain methods for it, and that's where we use protocols and delegates. The protocol is kind of like a contract that says, okay, I need somebody to do this job for me, and here's what I need done. And it will specify the methods that it needs to have done for it. And then the delegate will be the part of the program that says, all right, I'll do that job. I'll be the delegate, and it also will contain the method that the protocol said it needed done for it. So it will have the code to actually do that work. Passing data with a custom delegate. So you'll learn how to use the protocol and delegate method to pass data. It's one way to pass information from one view controller to another. We'll be learning another method later that you can use when you're using storyboards. But protocols and delegates are used for other things as well, so it's still a good thing to use, to learn how to use them even if you're going to be using storyboards. Okay. After that, you're going to be starting to learn about storyboards. So we'll have an introduction to storyboards, interfacing IB and storyboards with code, storyboards with two views, how to create two-view apps with storyboards and how to move back and forth between those views. You're going to be learning about UI image views, so you can start putting images in your programs, and that should make them more interesting. And you're going to be learning about some user interface elements, the switch control, the step control, the segment control, and let's see, then your project for this week. You're going to take the app that you created for your first project, and you can either create a new one or you can work with the app that you started on Project 1. You're going to create a button for each of the subclasses that you created in your Project 1, at least 3 buttons to go with at least 3 subclasses. When one button is selected, it should become disabled. Your user can't choose the same button that they've just chosen. Choosing another button turns the former button back on. A stepper button must be present to implement the multiplier for the calculation result. Okay, so this stepper button is going to choose a number that's going to multiply whatever your calculation result is. So you have calculation methods in your subclasses. Each subclass is supposed to be returning a value for the calculation. That is, it should have a return value, not void, okay? It's got to return a value, and that value is going to be used in your program, and you're going to multiply that value by the value in the stepper button. So your stepper button is either going to have to show in the text field, or maybe have its own text field or label where it displays what its current value is. You must also have an execute button, which should be present to trigger the factory creation, and then the overridden calculation method for the chosen subclass. So you've chosen your subclass with one of the subclass buttons, and you've decided, use the stepper to decide how many of those, or how many times to multiply that, and then your execute button is going to trigger the factory creation, and then it's going to call the calculation method for whichever subclass button you have selected, and then it's going to take the results of that calculation method that the calculation method returns and multiply it by the stepper value. The text field, you need a text field to display the chosen subclass, so when they click one of the subclass buttons, it should display which subclass was selected, and then after they hit the execute button, it should show the result of the calculation times the stepper. The text field content should always be left justified. Now you also need to add a section using a segmented control, and that allows for the background color of the view to change between 3 distinct colors. Okay, so depending on which one of the segments they click on, it should switch them to a different background color. You also should include an info button that will display a second view containing your name. Remember, an info button is not just a button with the word info on it. It's a button of the type info, info light or info dark, and that's a type, a button type, and it should look like a little circle with the letter I inside it. Okay, and a button on the second view, once you click that info button, it displays a second view that contains your name, and you need a button on that second view that will allow you to close the second view and return to the first view. Okay, the subclass buttons should all call the same handler method. They shouldn't each have their own handler. They should all call the same handler method. The click method should check for the sender's tag to choose the appropriate action. Use the factory for instantiations. Okie doke. So that should about do it. Let me know if you have any problems, and good luck.